From a sinister being lurking outside a bedroom window, to a grotesque monstrosity stalking the woods, these are 5 disturbing and allegedly true creature encounters. To help me with today's video, I'm joined by my good friend and longtime collaborator, Dismal Hero. I'll link his channel in the video description below. I'm Fearcrawler. Welcome to the video. My earliest memory of the paranormal was when I was about 5 years old. This story is definitely in the top 2 of my very strange experiences. My sister, who was 6 at the time, and I were traveling up to Darwin for a couple of days with my dad. We ended up staying in a hotel halfway through our journey. I remember this hotel very vividly. It was old and had an awful feel to it. My sister and I shared a room. They were bunk beds and I was on the top one. Being very young, I fell asleep quite easily, but I got woken up by the sound of my sister's voice. She was telling someone to go away, and that she wasn't scared of it. I turned over and tried to see who she was talking to. This is going to sound very strange, and I can hardly believe I saw this myself. I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in demons. But at our window was this creature. Picture something crossed between a gargoyle and an imp. It was sitting at our windowsill staring in at my sister. She was standing at the window staring back at it. It licked the window with a massive tongue. It then pointed to her and ran its fingers along its throat. My sister is one of those kids born with this incredible confidence. Nothing scared her. She just kept taunting it. That was it for me, though. I jumped down from my bed and ran into my dad's room. This story took many years for my sister and I to talk about. I was about 12 swapping stories when she brought this up. I spent years thinking that this was one strange dream or a twisted memory. I think I should mention, it wasn't the last time we saw this thing. It followed us around for years. I honestly don't know what to think of this, and I don't expect most people to believe me, unless they've experienced something similar.
My grandparents used to rent a house in a little mountain village for 3 months in the summer, and I used to go there every summer since I was 5 until I was 14 with my sister, which is 7 years older than me, and my cousin, who was 3 years younger than me. I really liked my time there, so when I grew older, this passion for the mountain stuck with me. I am now 26, and every summer I go hiking with my boyfriend. The trails we use to hike are sometimes very stiff, and it's just the 2 of us, surrounded by the mountain and the silence that covers everything. Sometimes we camp halfway if the climb is too long. One day, we were climbing a difficult one near a lake in Italy, and I finished first. So I was waiting for my boyfriend at the end of the path, at the top of the mountain. It was beautiful there. Butterflies flew on the flowers around me, and the birds were chirping happily. I could see the whole lake, surrounded by the forest. I like to sit in the silence of the mountain, and watch the stunning view of the lake, and watch the animals around me living their lives. It's relaxing. I was sitting there on a rock, and I don't know how, but I felt something was in the woods behind me. Behind me there was a precipice, not very deep though, and the forest would cover the end of it and all around. I stood up and tried to see if there was something down there. That's when I saw it. I still get shivers when I think about it. Deep down there was a chamois, a beautiful one with long horns. I got excited because I rarely see one. I was looking at him from behind. His fur was light brown, and he had a black line that went from the neck to the tail. But something was very wrong with it. That's when I froze. His front legs looked like they didn't end with a normal cloven hoof, but he had 3 fingers at the end of his front legs similar to a bird claw, but not that sharp. The back legs seemed normal. I could see it because he was walking very slowly and calmly through the vegetation. Then, I noticed with great horror that his face seemed flat, no muzzle. I couldn't look at him directly in the face, but I couldn't see his forehead and nose. What should have been there just wasn't. Thinking about it now, I really wished I'd seen his face, just to see how the eyes and mouth were organized. He disappeared in the pine's shadow, and I was still there shocked when my boyfriend finally arrived. I told him what I saw, and he didn't believe me. He laughed. I know it's not scary, and it can even be funny if you think about it. A chamois with eagle legs and a flat face. I thought about it all the time when we were descending. It was so weird. At the end, I told myself that I must have dreamed it, even if I would love to know that I wasn't the only one to see that thing. I like to think it was a deity that took the form of a chamois. There wasn't any village at the mountain's feet, so I couldn't ask if someone saw that too, or if someone knew nothing about a weird animal living in the forest.
It was the summer of 2013. I was 17 years old at the time when I decided to visit my older sister Lauren in her boyfriend's house, where she lives together with his family. She was pregnant at that time, and I decided to bring her some fruits, and planned to stay there for a few days if they would allow it. When I arrived at their humble home, her future parents-in-law welcomed me. They also offered me to stay for a few days. The 2 old folks were nice, and I called them Uncle Teddy and Aunt Sella. They work in the farm every day together with my sister's boyfriend Dan. My sister just stays in the house with Juliet, her future sister-in-law, who is also nice to us. While eating some snacks, Lauren told me about a strange, huge black bird that was seen flying around their house a few nights ago. They believed it was a tik-tik, a bird that is used by the Aswang to spy for pregnant women. Lauren is so scared that the stories about Aswangs could be real. There were times during the night that they could hear the sound of a bird and the flapping of its huge wings. They can also hear footsteps on the roof of the house. All that she does is pray and ask for protection. Dan is also ready to protect her with a machete, a jar of salt and garlic kept in their room. My first and second nights at their house were peaceful and silent. No signs of the tik-tik or the aswang. On the 3rd night, I was sleeping in bed when I was awoken by the screams of Lauren and Juliet. I checked the time on my phone and it was around midnight. I could hear the strong blows of wind outside and the sound of flapping wings. I prayed for protection before I headed to my sister's room. Everyone was already awake. Lauren, Juliet, and Aunt Sella stuck together inside the room praying. Dan was guarding them. Uncle Teddy was outside the room and shouting for the demon bird to leave. We were all on the 2nd floor. Suddenly, this huge bird starts banging the window in Lauren's room. Good thing it had metal grills. Dan opened the window and the huge black bird was revealed in front of us. We were all still shocked by its red eyes. I quickly grabbed the jar of salt and threw some at it. "Stay away from us, demon. Leave," I shouted. It got angry and irritated, so it flew around the house looking for an opening. As the huge black bird was circling around the house, we suddenly heard footsteps running on the roof. "It's here, the Aswang," said Uncle Teddy. "Put salt and garlic on every window," he ordered. Then Uncle Teddy ran downstairs and outside to surround the house with salt while carrying his machete. After a few minutes, we heard Uncle Teddy shout for help. I quickly ran to him while leaving the ladies with Dan. When I got outside, I was shocked to see Uncle Teddy losing a fight against a creature I have never seen before. A man with black skin, his eyes red in color, with fangs in his upper and lower front teeth. He was naked and had facial hair. Uncle Teddy was badly beaten. I noticed that the Aswang was also wounded by my uncle's machete. With all my strength, I charged towards the Aswang and stabbed his left shoulder using a kitchen knife. He quickly grabbed me by the neck and threw me. His strength equaled the 3 adult males. He released an angry loud cry before running towards the fields, and the huge black bird followed him. I helped my uncle to stand up. He was wounded by the creature's pointed nails. We didn't sleep that night, and we waited until the sun rose. Dan immediately told the neighbors what had happened. Some even heard the shouting but chose to stay inside their homes and ignore it. People say that the Aswang will swallow the black bird because it lives inside his stomach. Then the Aswang will return to his normal human form. But at night, he releases the bird to hunt for prey, and then the man will change back into the Aswang demon form. I stayed with my sister for another 2 weeks just to make sure that the Aswang didn't come back. Luckily, it did not return anymore, and after 3 months, Lauren gave birth to a healthy baby boy.
Yesterday, at about 9 at night, I got up to go feed the crows. It was stuffy inside, and I had been watching movies since 5 o'clock. My parents were out at a neighbor's wedding anniversary party, and I feed crows regularly as I find it relaxing. I don't have any siblings, and so no one was with me to see. I took a torch and went into my backyard, scattering old bread all around. Suddenly, I saw something horrible. My mom likes to leave out food for foxes, as she finds them fascinating, usually leftovers. Yesterday was chicken breast. A massive wolf-like creature was scarfing the fox food. It was about the size of a bear, but it had shaggy, silver-gray fur and a muzzle with dog-like fangs. Its eyes were yellow, and I thought it was a wolf, but it was crouching like a human. I was terrified, and still am. Eventually it ran off, jumping over the fence. But it was way too big to be a wolf. Though wolves don't really live in the UK, I told my parents, who thought it was just a stray dog. I told my friends, and they don't believe me, asking if I've ever seen any werewolves. Please believe me, and tell me what it was. I'm not saying it was a werewolf, I just want to know if any of you have possibly had the same experience. By the way, I do not have a dog, and my close neighbors don't either, so that rules neighborhood dogs straight out. I also am a believer of the supernatural, so is it possibly something from another dimension? Thanks for your time, and I understand if you don't want to believe me. I find it pretty crazy as well.
This experience is something different related to an animal. I can't really say whether it really was an animal, but it was a horrible experience for me. The first incident related to this animal happened almost 3 years ago. That time I was staying in a college hostel. It was noon and I was sleeping in my room. After some time I was trying to wake up, but I could not. I was trying hard to come out of my bed, but couldn't. It was as if my hands and feet were tied. I could move only my torso, but that was it. I could hear growling from my back. It was as if an animal was laying behind me, and its mouth was covering my head. After chanting God's name, I finally woke up. I obviously brushed it off as a mere dream. The second time I experienced this, it happened again in the same way, but I just tried to let it go. A few months back on my birthday, it happened a third time. It was winter season, and this time was really intense. It was like sleep paralysis. No movement, no voice coming out. This time I could not remember any deity's name, and that growling noise was simply horrible. Its mouth covered my right portion of my head as I was laying on my left side. Finally, in my dream, I remembered a chant, but I was confused whether or not it would work. I was first chanting without faith, but when I felt it was loosening its hold on me, I chanted God's prayer with full devotion. Then I woke up. At first I was relieved that it was a dream, and while saying this to myself, I touched my head. I became scared, because when I touched the side of my head, it was wet, on the same side I had envisioned that creature had its mouth on my head. How is this possible? My room was very cold due to the weather. Even if you had blankets on, you would still feel cold, and the blanket was wet as well. After that, my roommates started sharing their experiences with me. Late one night, one of my roommates was deeply engrossed in her mobile phone when she heard Jungru's sound. Nobody has Jungru in our hostel. Once I was alone in my room, and it seemed like someone was trying to enter. I thought maybe some girl was trying to enter, so I told her to push the door a little more and come in. After 2 to 3 minutes with nobody coming inside, I went to check the door. And when I went outside, there was no one there. When this was happening, the wind was not blowing, so there's no chance it was caused by that. My other friends also told me that they once heard a woman's voice, a painful cry for almost 15 minutes around midnight. I don't know what's going on, but that animal growling still happens with me, no matter where I go. We've all tried to find the history of this building, and we did learn in the past that it was a boys' hostel, but there were no strange incidents. Before coming to this room, I learned that the previous occupants were a group of 4 girls. If they ever decided to go outside the room, they would always go in groups of 2, and at no point in time would any one girl ever spend time in the room alone. That's all for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed. Please comment below what you thought about the video. I do appreciate your feedback greatly. Until next time, everyone take care, be safe, and above all, stay scared.